Hello Naps, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jocelyn. Today we're going to be talking about CBT theory, Pygmalion effect, and self-fulfilling prophecy. And I think while we do that, I'm gonna try and turn myself into a statue. Gotta get this out of the way. It's gonna look ridiculous. The old school way to tie your hair back. Beautiful. I am going to be working with cream paints today. I have a little Nye cream paint wheel thing here, and I have some like disposable latex sponges. I'm using the Monster Wheel, I think, and I'm using cream specifically because of the blending is really easy. Like when I was doing the camouflage makeup, I was using the water-based because it's really easy to mix colors, which is still true. But if you're trying to get like nice even blends, you don't want to have to like hyper mix those blends. And since I'm just doing a general base coat of white, I'm not gonna worry so much about harsh edges right now. Also, statues have like a kind of modeled look to them. They're not like perfectly uniform, right? I should probably get into why like a statue is relevant in this instance. When we're talking about the idea of a self-fulfilling prophecy, that is known by a couple different names, like scientifically, which is kind of neat. One is the Pygmalion effect, and it is based off of the story of this Greek sculptor. He sculpted this female body, right? And then he fell in love with it, like self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So we create the conditions needed in order to fulfill our expectations. I think is the best, simplest way to put it. Okay, I'm gonna finish covering my face in white, and yeah. Bam, my face is done, but my ears are very pink still. So I'm gonna use water-based because I don't really wanna get a bunch of cream-based makeup in my ear to get out. So I'm using a water, like the same paint that I used in the camouflage makeup videos. Oh, it's in my ear, this is uncomfortable. Nye Aqua paint. Just to let you know ahead of time, like cream paints and water paints don't really mix together super well, so if you want to layer, it's not impossible to work with though. If you want to layer like a water-based paint on top of a cream paint, you just have to powder it first, like seal it in with some setting powder. I have a Nye neutral set. Nye is just what my area happens to carry when I can find a place that carries it. So if you have Mayron or Krylon or like one of the different brands, go you. I had to take out my jewelry too because I don't really want to get paint out of that. It just sounds like a pain in the butt. I'm just gonna redo my eyes really quick. I have like a sea sponge here. It's like super textured, right? Only reason I'm getting it wet is to kind of soften it because, ooh, what is in here? Is there latex in here? Man, I gotta take care of my materials. I'm gonna use this like dark purpley shade in here, and this is where I'm going to start going in and doing details, modeling it up a bit, and also start contouring. So CBT is a like therapy practice that tries to break apart like the cycle self-fulfilling prophecies, which I think is kind of neat. It's not really worded that way most of the time, but when you look up like the definition in the wheel that CBT tries to eliminate, you'll see that they actually look really similar. Yeah. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So, as you can see in the Pygmalion effect wheel, others' beliefs about you as a person, which cause others' actions towards us, which reinforce our beliefs and influence our actions. So then you go back from our actions to impact. There's one big cycle of what we do changes how other people treat us, changes how we respond to situations. It's neat, but also a little weird. Also, grayscale is really hard, guys, so just be aware when you're doing grayscale stuff. It's hard. We'll see how well this works. I'm gonna go ahead and contour really quick, be back in a sec. Okay, so I decided that I needed to do the rest of my shoulders because it just looked weird just being like neck up. So it took a little bit longer than I expected. Working with a very small pot of cream paint is not the best suggestion for like large areas of the body. I've got most of my major areas kind of contoured a little bit. So you'll notice that I've also contoured like spots on my body that are showing particular bone structure or muscle groups as well, because if you're carving a statue, you're gonna have to pay attention to those, and you can't just kind of leave them be in the background, although like natural lighting and stuff will help. Oh, I got cat hair stuck to me. Cream paint is like not the best for cats and dogs hair. So yeah, I'm just going to go in and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna detail out, and probably fully regret detailing out a little bit more. So there's actually been a whole ton of research done on how the Pygmalion effect works, particularly in classrooms. In that, I mean like Duquesne University, sorry, I feel like I'm horribly mispronouncing that. They had a lovely research study for this effect to see if teachers' biases affected student output. Turns out it did. So it literally does matter what your teacher thinks as to how you perform. If your teacher thinks that you're gonna do a really crappy job, then yeah, you're more likely to not do a good job and basically fulfill the expectations that teacher had. Conversely, if your teacher believes that you are going to do really good things in their class, you are more likely going to do really good things in their class. So I'm not surprised, because I have feelings about the educational system in America. I just figured that we'd be looking into that more a little bit. Ooh, maybe I should just use my finger. You can also do details with your fingers. It's like very extreme contouring. So how they did this study, they had kids take an intelligence test. I'm not sure if it's like an IQ test or how exactly they decided to measure intelligence, but that's not the point, because they then randomized like 20% of the students, and they told the teachers which students scored highest on the test, but the teachers didn't know actually those were the randomized names. So basically the teachers thought that this random 20% of students was just unbiasedly more intelligent than the rest of their students. They were at the top of their class. And at the end of the year, regardless of what the student's test originally was, that randomized 20% did better on all the testing than the rest of the student body did, showing that like the teachers who knew about that and then encouraged them to do better because like they had potential and stuff, it's frustrating. No matter what level they were at, they ended up at the top at the end because the teachers believed in them. But I guess at least it's not based on your personal intelligence at that point. It's literally a self-fulfilling prophecy. It is the Pygmalion effect. I'm going to get some powder on. I'm gonna get a couple more details in. And I'm using like translucent setting powder, so I don't have to worry so much about where the powder is going. Like it shouldn't dilute the color too much. This also sets my base and lets me build on top of it too, so I don't have to worry as much about smudging my base. Okay, so now we're here. Basically what I did is I went through with my NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in white. I kind of like touched up some of my highlight. I did my mouth a little bit more. Contouring your lips is really weird, but it's also really similar to like doing an ombre lip. Usually your top lip is a little bit darker color-wise, but if we're going in statues, there's no pigment there, so the top lip would also be more of a high point, so you just have to be careful. So really quick, let's go into CBT, and I'm going to try and add little bits of lines and stuff to kind of be cracks. Let's go into CBT. CBT is known as cognitive behavioral therapy. It is a therapy used by a lot of therapists to help with regulating thoughts that are inaccurate, thoughts that are not realistic to what's actually happening in the outside world, right? We can think of those thoughts as like thoughts of inflating the importance of something or catastrophizing, which would be where you believe something is like significantly worse than it is. So like if you worry about getting a C on a test and your brain immediately just starts spiraling into the what ifs, you could be catastrophizing. And just so that people know, I'm not a professional. I look stuff up on the internet. So you too can look stuff up on the internet and make up your own mind. These lines are not super great. And I'm using the black from the Nye water Aqua paint thing to make these cracks here. And I'm trying to base them from areas that would be like more likely to crack, so like points of where there would be points inward that you would have to like dig into stone, right? So yeah, and I can't see anything because I just bought new contacts but have not gotten them in yet. So I'm very blind. The key with cracks is you don't want them to be too big, and you kind of want them to look like they're going on a certain vein, like they're following an angle of stone, not necessarily perfectly smooth. There are cracks that are perfectly smooth though, so like if you wanted to make like a crack that's just gone off and done its own thing and kind of schluffed the outer edge of stuff, do you. You know, be your person. So with the process of CBT, the therapists use, thoughts influence feelings, which influence behavior. Again, going back to our very similar to our Pygmalion effect cycle, we want to break that cycle somehow. And so usually it ends up being one of those things has to change in order for your idea of how things work to change. First key thing, this is educating on the fact that it exists and not me telling you how to do anything, because I don't know. I am not a professional. So usually it starts with targeting what your inaccurate thoughts are. Like if you think every time the check for your work comes in the mail that your significant other is going to leave you. It's how your brain is associating things that is problematic. So then you would go through and figure out, okay, so I know this is problematic, so how do I start breaking that cycle of association? This is where having a professional come in to help is really important, as you don't want to end up creating worse problems trying to fix problems. Maybe that's just me though. I like my problems to be fixed rather than made worse when I can do it. Some of the tactics that are suggested to kind of help with that would include things like journaling, which is really good for reflection, can help you identify a lot of stuff, also helps you process your emotions. Gotta love journaling. And because you're in charge of the journal, like you put down what you want to put down. If you just want to write in pictures and like picture journal, do it. There's people who bullet journal. I've heard that is good for people who enjoy that. Yeah, there's a ton of different journaling types. Just because you've tried one doesn't mean that there's not another out there that might be better suited for you. So you can always give it a shot. Oh, I messed up that one. Oop, I don't even know if you can see these lines that I'm doing on here, but I can't see anything, so I'm going to assume that you can. Yeah, and I'm trying to keep the highlights on the same side of the crack, just to make it not look too much. You don't want to do both sides, you just really want to like pop one side. Ooh, that one looks pretty good. So another idea is doing like relaxed breathing, you know, calming yourself down. So if you're catastrophizing, taking a moment and just breathing will at least help your body realize that you're not in like a state of panic, like you're okay. It's your brain that's like causing the panic, if that makes sense. So breathing, meditation stuff. You go through this process of identifying your distortions. That's the word I've been trying to think of this entire time. Distortions, thought distortions. So you identify your distortions, you reframe those thoughts. So you figure out how they're off. You try and reframe them in your conscious mind, right? And then you check on its like realistic nature, I guess. Reapply the new thought to create new patterns, which once you change your thought on something, you can change your feeling, and then it will eventually change your behavioral output. So that's how that cycle gets changed as well. So which is, I think, something that we can maybe apply when we think about Pygmalion effect and self-fulfilling prophecies, is we have control over our thoughts, and if our thoughts influence our behavior, then we can definitely use our thoughts to create better outcomes for ourselves. Now, we don't have control over other people's thoughts, opinions, beliefs, but if it's something that is intrinsically wrong with the way that we're looking at the world, we can at least adjust that. All right, I'm gonna go stick some product in my hair. I'm gonna cross my fingers, we'll see. All right, and here's where I'm at. I have now figured out how to get semi-soft curls in different colors. So I think this was like something like that, colored hair wax, something along those lines. You run it through your hair and it's supposed to like change the color of it. None of this is sponsored. I'm too small for that, so. But yeah, here we are. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you found my little breakdown of stuff helpful. I'm glad that you came over here. Go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoyed this. Go ahead and knock that subscribe button out of the park and ding that bell. Got this. You're awesome. I look forward to seeing you here next Thursday for another fun makeup and psychology, philosophy, whatever I feel like talking about that day. Also, let me know what you think of this, if there's anything that you would have done differently. All right, Naps, have a good day. Bye.